Okay, we've got the last slide here. We'll just quickly comment. What doesn't come under wara'? Something which there's no haram connected to. So for example, there's no haram connected whatsoever. We can't just make up stuff. Okay, yeah, you know what might be haram though. We don't know, like, does this really belong to the center, or maybe we shouldn't actually sit on it because maybe, you know, just make up stuff basically. Make sense? Make stories up. Or there's little harm. Little harm. So for example, in the Prophet ﷺ mentions a statement, some of the scholars authenticate it, about camel's meat. Sorry, not camel's meat, cow's meat. Make sense? So what, like beef? Yeah? Well, so far? How the meat is what? Is like, you know, harmful. Make sense? There's dispute in the authenticity of the narration, first of all. But what the scholars who comment on this, they say meaning, if maybe if you have it in large consumption. Make sense? That's what you... We get the gist there? So if it's like, or there's a little bit of a harm connected to it. We get the gist of it? Or if the Prophet ﷺ practiced it, you'd be like, this looks harmful, but the Prophet practiced it. If the Prophet ﷺ practiced it, means it's okay. Also, when a person, for example, just like, you know, they what isn't wara' as well is, for example, when a person's doing big haram and then they're trying to stay away from dislike stuff. Make sense? I'll give you an example of this. It's actually a crazy example, but here's Ibn Jawzi rahimahullah mentions it. There was a guy who committed haram, committed zina, and he made the girl he committed zina with pregnant. So someone spoke to him, as he basically ejaculated. Someone spoke to him and said, why didn't you, he goes, you know, like, why didn't you do azl? What's azl? Basically withdraw, like, you know, not, like, and this is his answer. He says, بلغني أن العزل مكروه. We were told that, I was told the azl is disliked. Withdrawing basically is basically like. So then they said to him, and did it not reach you that this is haram though? Yes, with us? Do you see that? Like, this is an example of where, like, this is very problematic, by the way. This is very common, by the way. But people, like, they're asking questions, but they're like, oh, is this allowed? Is this, you know, like, but my friend, what about all the haram that you're doing? Why don't you take care of that first? Make sense? So that's really important. Another thing is using wara' packaging to avoid an obligation. So for example, let's say, you know, in the marketplace, shopping center, for example, or in a particular place. Yeah, let's give a shopping as an example. Someone was told that, look, bro, you, mashallah, when you go to that place, they respect you, and there's like a lot of corruption going on there, and they'll just stop. Make sense? So really you should be going there and actually, like, you know, doing what's like forbidding the evil, or even just showing your presence, and they'll stop. And you say, no, you know, going to the market, going to the shopping center is fitna, it's fitna. Make sense? So that's called wara' packaging. You guys get the gist of it or not? You guys get the gist of it, answers? Yeah? What's the last one? Going overboard may backfire. Meaning when everything just becomes wara' sort of thing, khalas, there's nothing left you can actually do. And then what ends up happening, you end up backfiring. Make sense? Like, I'll give you one example. There was one example from one of the stories of the past that I found very interesting, where one guy, he just had doubts on all the meat in the whole of the town. Yeah? And that happens even right now, by the way. That happens in London as well. People are like, you know what, it's haram, it's HMC, you know. Like, make sense? So the only thing he was eating was like fish from a particular sea. Like, you know, from some. And after that, they contaminated that as well. So he's like, now I can't even eat the fish. You guys with us? Like, the point that I'm making is that sometimes, this is an extreme example, but sometimes you're sort of stuck. And then what ends up happening when you're stuck is you just literally rebel and everything becomes allowed. So if you just do it, if you're just careful with it from the get-go, khalas. Like, you just, meaning, what I mean by that is, you do it in a measured way from the get-go, you'll be alright, inshallah ta'ala. Is that okay? Okay, anyway, khalas, we're gonna stop now, inshallah ta'ala. So next week, inshallah, or in the next session, we're gonna start talking about all of the areas that fall under wara', and I want to give you examples, real life examples. Some of them we might even have to touch some professions as well. You guys with us? in terms of how to, and some of the stuff was specifically when it comes to jobs and work and stuff like that. So we're going to have to speak about some of that sort of stuff as well, in terms of how a person generally operates. To see if a person has been crossing the line in some of these areas, at least they can ensure that they're not crossing the line anymore. Is that okay, inshallah ta'ala? Yeah? Khalas, we're going to wrap up. Let's just go to the final.